discussing the module 7 of the organic chemical technology, and in the lecture 1, lecture 2 and lecture 3 we discuss about the overview of the petrochemical industry. Then we discuss about the naphtha and gas cracking, which is the heart of the petrochemical plant, and then we discuss about the recovery of C4 C5 gases from FCC. Today we will be discussing about the synthesis gas and its derivatives, hydrogen and ammonia, carbon dioxide, methanol, formaldehyde, methanol to olefin technology, although that technology will be discussing in more detail while discussing the propylene. So these are the some of the very important feedstock for the chemical industry, and if you remember when we discuss about the structure of the chemical industry and the so that was the in the first stage, that was the petrochemical industry, the hydrogen, ammonia, synthesis gas, they become very important feedstock, and because of it is important any complex, because if you see this is one of the large integrated, you can say, the fertilizer complex, although in this another unit of RCF they are manufacturing some other petrochemical, and similarly in case of the Gujarat State and fertilizer, because they are making the synthesis gas, and that synthesis gas they are using for production of large number of the chemical like the they are making the caprolactam, they are making the melamine, they are making some other dimethyl formamide. So these are the some of the petrochemical which are getting imported, and because of that reason the synthesis gas that has become one of the very important feedstock in the chemical industry. So the coverage of the lecture will be introduction, emerging technology and utilization of the gas, synthesis gas and methane for production of the petrochemical, synthesis gas required for major world scale plant, ammonia, hydrogen, CO2, then methanol, formaldehyde, acetic acid, dimethyl formamide, acetylene. As I told you, methane and synthesis gas are important petrochemical feedstock for manufacture of a large number of chemicals which are used directly or as intermediate. Although synthesis gas mostly we call it the both NH2 and hydrogen nitrogen, because when you are making the synthesis gas, then hydrogen is separated and that is going to the ammonia plant. So both the synthesis gas they are very important, and that's why while discussing the coverage of the lecture I told you that will be also discussing about the hydrogen and the ammonia. So in case of the many of these products are finding use in the plastic, synthetic fiber, rubber, pharmaceutical industry and other industry. And one of the very important product from the synthesis gas, that was the methanol and methanol to formaldehyde, and then other uses of the methanol in production of MTB, in the production of now the methanol to olefin technology, which is finding wide application and the acceptability in the petrochemical industry. So these are the some of the major factors why the synthesis gas that is a very important petrochemical feedstock. Synthesis gas, as I told you, is commonly used to describe two basic mixtures. Synthesis gas containing CO and hydrogen, which is first produced in the process while going for the different processes, which again we will be discussing in the later stage in the few slides, and the synthesis gas containing hydrogen and nitrogen, which we are using for the production of ammonia. Petrochemical derivatives based on the synthesis gas and carbon monoxide have experienced steady growth due to large scale utilization of the methanol and development of the carbonation process for acetic acid, oxosynthesis, for detergents, plasticizers and alcohols. A recent market study showed that there will be dramatic increase in the demand of CO and syn gas derivatives. Methanol as I told you, is the largest consumer of the synthesis gas. The reform gas is to meet the certain requirement with regard to its consumption. It is characterized by the stoichiometric conversion factor which differs from case to case, because different plant they will be requiring different amount of the synthesis gas. One of the before starting the synthesis gas, because here we are also discussing the methane, because that methane part of the synthesis gas and natural gas that we are using for making of the synthesis gas. So, some of the emerging technology for the more and more utilization of the methane is the oxidative coupling of methane to yield ethylene. So, that is one of the, then the methanol to olefin technology. These are the, because the methanol that will be from the synthesis gas via from the methane to synthesis gas, and synthesis gas to methylene, and methanol to olefin is the propylene. Fischer-Tropsch synthesis being studied in the great deal world over, and is promising to be a future technology for manufacture of the olefin from the synthesis gas. So, this is another area which is a wide scope of the methane and methane to methanol technology that is there. CO that can be separated from the synthesis gas either by cryogenic or by pressure swing adsorption is a promising feedstock for production of variety of products. These are the some of the you see the product profile of synthesis gas, and one of the major product that we are getting methanol, natural gas, and natural gas to methane, and methane to again we are producing large number of the product, means the hydrogen cyanide, that is one of the chlorinated methanes, the various compounds we are getting carbon chloromethanes that we are getting after chlorination, carbon disulfide, that is also one of the very important feedstock for the manufacture of viscose rayon. Then the other compounds, that is the acetylene from the methane that we can produce, and the ethylene aromatics, because there is technology available from synthesis gas to aromatic also. Another important outlet for synthesis gas, and these are some of the raw material. You see the raw material: methane, natural gas, naphtha, residual oil, coal, even biomass that can be also used for production of the synthesis gas, which we discuss in detail in the module 1 while discussing the raw material. So, the another for the methanol I was discussing, that is the formaldehyde, that is the major outlet, acetic acid, DMT. In the manufacture of DMT we are using the methanol, and MTB, methyl tertiary ether, where we are using methanol. Then the solvent, chloromethane, fuel, because again there is lot of discussion why not to use methanol as a blend in the gasoline. Another synthesis gas which was telling that will go to the methanol to formaldehyde, acetic acid, ethylene glycol, aromatics, vinyl acetate, and then the butyldehyde. Then the synthesis gas which I was telling from the hydrogen and nitrogen, this will be the ammonia, and ammonia, as you know, one of the major outlet is as a nitrogenous fertilizer in the form of the urea. Another use is the nitric acid. Apart from that, ammonia is finding wide use in some of the technology now which is being used in the petrochemical industry, and one of the major application is in the formation of the acrylic fiber, where we are making the acrylonitrile, and in the preparation of the acrylonitrile we are using ammonia. And other actually processes are there where we are using ammonia as a feedstock in the preparation of large number of the chemicals. Then the CO, as I told, the CO is also one of the very important, and not the only CO. Now the lot of the work that is why not utilize that CO2, and then the CO2 it is because normally what is happening in the refinery, we are producing huge amount of hydrogen, and in that hydrogen CO2 that is a waste. So, why not utilize that CO2 for making some of the useful petrochemical. So, because some of the chemicals we can tap from the and the already lot of the work is going on to make it the more economical at the commercial level. So, the CO, I was telling about the CO, carbon monoxide, that is the hydroformation reaction, carbonation reaction, amine carbonation, then the oxo carbonation, the hydrogenation and the other, and these are the long list of the products are there which we are getting from the CO. So, this may be now you can realize the importance of synthesis gas, and it is not only important from the your fertilizer production, but also it is important, equally important for the manufacture of the petrochemical also. This is the requirement and of the hydrogen to CO, typical world scale capacity and synthesis gas requirement. You can see the already I discussed the various product, one of the methanol, that is the important product, then the acetic acid, acetic anhydride, oxo alcohols, phosgene, another product which is fine we are using now, it is especially in case of the making the polycarbonate, formic acid, methyl formate, propionic acid, methyl methacrylate, that is also very one of the very important product for making of the your polymer of this, and the 1,4-butadienol. So, these are the some of the requirement of the synthesis gas, typical world scale capacity and synthesis gas requirement. So, you can see the huge amount of synthesis gas that is required, and this is the reason why many of the fertilizer plant they have integrated there with the production of the petrochemical. You take the one of the largest fertilizer complex, integrated fertilizer complex is your Gujarat State Fertilizer Complex at Vadodara, where they are making, apart from making of the various grade of the phosphatic and the nitrogenous fertilizer, they are making melamine, they are making caprolactam, they are making nylon, like that. Then dimethyl formamide, RCF, at their Unitethal they have started making dimethyl formamide, dimethyl acetamide, that can be also one of the product. Apart from methanol, because even some of the fertilizer plant like RCF, NFL, they are making the methanol also, because the methanol they are using in the process for absorption of the CO2. So, various raw materials for synthesis gas production are natural gas, refining gases, naphtha, fuel oil, residual heavy hydrocarbon, coal, biomass, and now the petrocoke, which is getting important because the refinery they are producing, and with the use of more and more heavier feedstock. Now, the already Reliance Jamnagar refinery they are going for the petrocoke gasification, so that the petrocoke that can be utilized there. So, these are the, and in detail we discuss about the various products, what are the various methods in while discussing the in the module 2, module 1, the raw material for organic chemical industry. Although the coal was the earlier used for the production of synthesis gas, it has now been replaced by petroleum fraction and the natural gas, because you see the birth of the chemical that was through the coal route, not through the petroleum route. So, petrocoke is the another emerging source for the synthesis gas. Coal is again getting, because you see we started they manufactured many chemical through the coal, and again coal is getting importance alone or with the combination of the petroleum coke, because the now the in some of the country huge amount of the coal deposits are there. Only the constant in case of India is the highest content of the coal, but the China they are going to have the coal based chemical plants. The synthesis gas and ammonia manufacture from the steam reforming or the partial oxidation, whatever the process that we are using, depending upon the feedstock. The various steps involved in the production of synthesis gas are desulfation of the natural gas, or it may be naphtha, or even in case of the partial oxidation also the gas has to be desulfurized before it is going to the subsequent stage. So, steam reforming of the natural gas and naphtha, because that is the requirement in case of the natural gas or naphtha, desulfurization that has to be done, because the 5 ppm level of the sulfur that is required. Then after the synthesis, steam reforming of the natural gas, then it is a CO shift conversion, because there we are getting a mixture of CO and H2, and now the process actually the further whatever the process is there, CO shift conversion, CO2 removal, purification, this is all the part of the ammonia manufacture. But so far the methanol is concerned, first 2 steps are common. So, CO shift conversion, CO2 removal by absorption in K2CO3, MEA, or it may be methanol, purification for removal of traces of CO and CO2 by methanation or nitrogen was, depending on, because in case of the partial oxidation nitrogen is available, because they are using the oxygen, and so that nitrogen that is being used for the removal of traces of CO and CO2 which may poison the catalyst, and then the final ammonia synthesis. Let us discuss about the ammonia. As you know, ammonia is the key component of many nitrogen bearing compounds which may be inorganic or organic. Ammonia is used in bulk or manufacture of urea and other fertilizer. Appreciable amount of ammonia and its derivative urea and nitric acid. Ammonia is used for manufacture of acrylonitrile, which I told you that the one of the major changes in the process technology of the acrylonitrile, which was earlier from the acetylene route. Now it is the propylene and ammonia that we are using, CO process that we are using for the manufacture of acrylonitrile, which has revolutionized the synthetic fiber industry, providing the substitute for wool. Urea and nitric acid, as told you, are being used for the manufacture of large number of organic chemicals also. Just you take the case of the urea, formaldehyde, and other application of the urea also there. And nitric acid, we are finding many of the reactions also. Nitric acid along with the sulfuric acid, we are using at the catalyst also. So they are being used for the manufacture of polyurethane, polyamides, acrylonitrile, hexamethane, tetramine, herbicides, urea formaldehyde resin, hydrazine, melamine, because melamine, that is the product we are manufacturing in the one of the fertilizer plant, GCFC, Gujarat State Fertilizer Complex at Vadodara. Aniline, nitrobenzene, pyroxene, in all the cases we are using in some or other form this nitric acid. There are about more than 400 ammonia plants globally. Some of the fertilizer complexes are also produce large number of the petrochemical like methanol, ethanolamine, acetic acid, acrylonitrile, caprolactam, dimethyl formamide, and few more other this is the feedstock share for the ammonia, and still you see this is the major share, because the earlier the naphtha, if you take the case of India, the naphtha that was made available to fertilizer plant when the some of the refinery they came in the earliest stages, because the natural gas that was supply, processing, and the pipeline, other problems were there in the supply of the natural gas, and a lot of the natural gas was flared at that time in the initial stage. But slowly after coming of the petrochemical, the naphtha was made available to the petrochemical complexes, and the natural gas supply through the pipeline by GAIL and other agency that they started, and because of that reason now the natural gas is the major feedstock for the manufacture of the ammonia. And here you see the fuel oil, because some of the fertilizer, especially the NFL plant, when it was started, they started all their, except Bijaypur plant, they started with the fuel oil as a raw material. But now they have actually changed over to the, even the IFCO Phulpur, the fuel oil that was raw material. Again all these three, some of the NFL, or they have shifted to another alternative raw material, means the natural gas and the naphtha. So this was the coke oven plant, that is also we discussed about when discussing the coal chemicals, ammonia that we are getting from the process, and so that is being used for the making of the fertilizer. These are the some of the reactions in the desulfation. We are having the two-stage desulfation, and these are the some of the series of reaction that is taking place in the removal of the sulfur compound. Even the adsorption phenomena is also taking place. So these are the some of the reaction that is taking place in the desulfurization. Then the steam reforming and two-stage steam reforming is there. Next process, the CO shift conversion, where the CO is converted to CO2, because this is the requirement we need for the urea manufacture CO2. So ammonia and CO2. So that's why in the fertilizer plant, because if you are interested in the methanol production, that only up to the CO and H2, that is the shift synthesis gas which you are making, that will go for the ammonia and methanol synthesis. But if you are interested in fertilizer, then further some of the steps which I am discussing, that will require. One of the step is CO shift conversion, means the conversion of CO to CO2, CO to CO2. Then the how to remove, because the synthesis gas which is to be used for ammonia manufacture, that has to be separated from the CO2, and that CO2 we are removing by various absorbent that we are using, and the potassium carbonate, that was the earlier absorbent that was used very commonly in case in the fertilizer plant, but now that has been replaced with the some ethanolamines and the methanol also that is being used. So this is the reaction that is taking place, and the your regeneration, continuous regeneration is also there. Then one further step is there, because in case of the ammonia synthesis, the catalyst poisoning that may be there. So in order to avoid that catalyst poisoning, the traces of the CO and CO2 which is remaining, that is removed methanation when you are having the steam reforming process, or by nitrogen wash when you are having the this partial oxidation process. This is the final ammonia synthesis process. Carbon monoxide, as I told you, is one of the constituent of the synthesis gas, which is produced by steam reforming of natural gas, naphtha, partial oxidation of the heavy hydrocarbons, and coal gasification, and major portion of CO is used in the world in the form of gas mixture containing hydrogen, and so which is I discussed the various products which we are getting from this CO and H2. However, the carbon monoxide in purified form is used in the manufacture of this. Already we discussed about the various products that like phosgene, acrylate, diisocyanate, bisphenol, where we are using the phosgene, polycarbonate, again the bisphenol is raw material for polycarbonate, methyl methacrylate, then the adipic acid, propionic acid, formamide, dimethyl formamide, acetic acid, formic acid, oxo alcohols, and a large number of the list of the petrochemicals are there which can be derived from the synthesis gas or the CO. Now let us discuss about the methanol. You see, the methanol was first obtained by Robert Boylein in the year 1661, that through the rectification of the crude wood vinegar over milk of lime, and was named Adiphorus ligolorum. That was the name at that time given. The term methyl was introduced in chemistry in 1835. Methanol is one of the largest volume chemicals produced in the world. Methanol consumption can be separated into three use category: chemical feedstock, methyl fuels, and the miscellaneous uses. About 71% of the current global production of the methanol is in the preparation of the formaldehyde, acetic acid, methyl methacrylate, and dimethyl terephthalate. Although now the dimethyl terephthalate we are not making, because that has been replaced by terephthalic acid, but earlier when the another major outlet of the methanol, that was for the manufacture of your MTB. This is the processes which I was telling, the various raw material, even for synthesis gas or the methanol when we are talking, it may methane, LPG, naphtha, fuel oil, vacuum residue, and then the asphalt in coal, biomass. These are all the products depending upon the feedstock. We can go either for reforming, steam reforming, or the partial oxidation. In generally, what is happening in case of the naphtha or the natural gas, we are having, or for the lighter hydrocarbons, we are having the steam reforming for heavier feedstock, or even in case of the coal or the biomass which discussed earlier, that the gasification part that we are using. So, partial oxidation, the process that we are using. So, the what is happening, the we are getting from the air partial oxidation the gases, then it is going for the steam reforming to as I told you the before, here also the steam H2S removal is there before it is going to here desulfation process, then it will go to steam reforming. In case of the partial oxidation, again the gases that will go for the removal of the H2S, and then the shift conversion, CO2 H2S absorption, final propagation, and the hydrogen that we are getting, which will go for the manufacture of the ammonia. If you are interested for the, then the some of the process that will be eliminated, that is the removal of the CO2 and other thing, directly CuNH2, that will go for the, that I will be discussing in the next slide. So, let us discuss, before discussing the final, hydrogen. Hydrogen is used in the various process in the refinery and the petrochemical complex. Hydrogen producing technology are the thermal, electrochemical, biological, hydrogen recovery technology, the membrane, adsorption, cryogenic separation, all these process that the technology are available. So, the product profile I was discussing about the methanol. So, these are the product profile of your methanol, DMT, polyethylene terephthalate, polyester fiber, film, adhesives, wire coating, textile, sizing, herbicides. Methyl methacrylate, that is the sheet, periglass, that is the we are calling the polymethyl methacrylate, surface coating, molding resin, oil additives. MTB and the MEA. MTB, already we discussed the importance of the MTB and the oxygenates, how we are making while discussing the recovery of the C4, C5 from the petroleum and the petrochemical complex. So, monomethanol amine, that is another very important, that is also a very good solvent. Apart from, and the absorbent that also we are using, these are the some of the other products that we are getting from the MEA. Then dimethylamine, dimethyl acetamide, dimethyl formamide, dimethyl hydrazine. So, the many of the, some of the, actually you see the fertilizer plants, they are making some of the amines also. Methyl acetate, pent remover, dimethyl aniline, that we are these are all the products we are getting from the methanol. Then the acetic acid, formaldehyde, and formaldehyde, that you know, one of the major outlet for the formaldehyde, that has been the thermoset resin, the all the phenolic resins that we are getting, the phenol formaldehyde, which we call it the bakelite, and the pentaethiol, that is the we are using in making of the explosive, trioxane, 1,4-butanol, formaldehyde, sulfoxylate, tetrahexone, and recessional resins. So, this is in brief about the summary of the process which I discussed earlier. Also, the what we are doing, the gas naphtha steam, that is after the, it is going the gas and naphtha. After vaporization, it will go to the desulfization process, and then it will go to the steam reforming, and from the steam reforming, then this synthesis gas which we are getting, that will go for the methanol synthesis and methanol synthesis to distillation. This is the process detail about the various raw material, and already I discussed this process, but here actually the synthesis of hydrogen are depending upon the requirement, whether you are interested for, because this after this your shift conversion, directly the synthesis gas from here, that will go for the methanol, or it will go to the synthesis gas, it will go for the synthesis gas manufacture for the manufacture of the ammonia. So, this is the, and the various raw material, already I discussed this process. These are the some of the units which are making the methanol in India, and you see the number of the fertilizer plant, because the synthesis gas manufacturing for already there, so they are making the methanol also. So, one of the major producer is Gujarat Narmada Valley Fertilizer, Deepak Fertilizers, RCF, Rashtriya Chemical Fertilizers, Assam Petrochemical. That was the one of the very old unit that was started utilizing the natural gas there. National Fertilizer, Panipat, Bhatinda, they are making the methanol plant is there. Methanol, because their in-house use of the methanol is also there for the absorption of the CO2. This is the, if you see the uses of the your methanol, maximum is the formaldehyde, other uses are less. This is the methanol consumption, growth, dimethyl sulfamide, agrochemicals, chloromethanes, solvent, end products which you are getting from this. Methanol as a fuel, because already I discussed about the importance of the oxygenates by in the module 6, but you see the methanol as a fuel, how the energy density of the gasoline, octane rating of 100, higher compression ratio, higher efficiency, higher flame speed results in more complete fuel combustion. Burns at lower temperature, use air cooling instead of liquid cooling, higher lighter vehicle. So, some of the, these are the some of the advantage of the methanol, why methanol that is being preferred as a oxygenate in the fuel. You see the, we are having the, for the technology which is available, first the, from the early 1800 until 1920, the distillation route to make wood alcohol was the source of methanol. The most common industrially favored method for the production of the methanol was first developed by BASF in 1923 in Germany from synthesis gas utilizing high pressure process using. So, again there has been development in the methanol technology, high pressure, medium pressure and low pressure technology. However, due to high capital and compression energy cost compounded by the poor catalyst activity, high pressure process was rendered obsolete when ISI in the year 1966 introduced a low pressure version of the process with a new copper zinc oxide based catalyst for high selectivity and stability. This was the actually change in the process technology from earlier BASF technology to ICI low pressure technology. The advantage of the low pressure technology as compared with the high pressure technology to methanol, the lower capital cost due to increased process material efficiency and exclusive use of turbine driven centrifugal compressors. Lower capital cost, lower maintenance cost, improved reliability. Process step in the, already I have discussed production of the synthesis gas using steam reforming or the partial oxidation. So, first step is production of the synthesis gas, and after the synthesis gas production, then it will go for the methanol synthesis, and these are the three processes which I discussed: the high pressure, medium pressure and the low pressure technology. These are the some of the reaction that is taking place during the methanol synthesis. This is the separate process I am discussing about the here natural gas that is going to desulfation, then steam reforming, wasted boiler, because this is the high temperature operation. So, it is always the reformers are having the steam wasted boiler, synthesis gas to compressor, compressor to methanol synthesis, and then the finally distillation we are getting methanol. So, this is the process flow diagram for the methanol. That was actually from various raw material how we are getting the synthesis gas. I discussed in detail in the previous few slides. This is also the same. If you are having the heavier feedstock, means fuel oil, coal, petcoke, and the biomass, then the partial oxidation process there, and it will also go for the H2S absorption, because normally in case of the partial oxidation always fine carbons are also produced. So, the carbon recovery section, air liquefaction, because the air that will be required for the partial oxidation, this is oxygen, it is going, the reaction is like that. So, air liquefaction, nitrogen, then the finally CO shift conversion, that will be when you are using for the ammonia. But for methanol, that will be CO shift conversion, that will be not required, because it is directly going to the synthesis gas and the compression, the methanol synthesis. But if you are interested, then the CO shift conversion will be there for in case of the fertilizer plant. Now, let us discuss another very important product of the synthesis gas which we are getting from methanol is the basic raw material, that is the formaldehyde. Formaldehyde is commercially available as aqueous solution with concentration ranging from 30 to 56% with formaldehyde. It is also sold in the solid form as para-formaldehyde or trioxane. The production of formaldehyde in India has been growing at a fairly constant rate during the last 10 years. Some of the major intermediates derived from formaldehyde are chilting agents, acetyl resins, 1,4-butadienol, polyols, methylene isocyanate. It is also used for the manufacture of wide variety of the chemicals including sealant, herbicide, fertilizers, coating, and pharmaceutical. By dehydrogenation combined with the partial oxidation in the presence of silver catalyst, this is the process we are using for the making of the formaldehyde from the methanol. By exothermic oxidation in presence of the modified iron oxide molybdenum catalyst, partial oxidation and dehydrogenation in presence of crystalline silver catalyst, because the molybdenum and silver catalyst, both the catalysts, and that has been used in the process. These are the some of the various product profile of formaldehyde. As I told you, the one of the major outlet for the formaldehyde, that is thermoset resin, phenol formaldehyde and urea formaldehyde, and melamine formaldehyde resin. These for all the three major thermoset resins are finding application in definitely, especially the phenol formaldehyde that we are using in case of the all the backlight, which you call the commercial name is backlight, and the electrical switches and other thing. Melamine for the kitchenware. There was the changes in the use pattern of the kitchen utensil from the stainless steel to the melamine wares in the kitchen. So, for where the melamine, and I told the Gujarat state fertilizer, they are making the melamine, because they are also they are making the synthesis gas, they are having the fertilizer plant. So, the melamine, that is also one of the very valuable product there. Hexamethylene tetramine, plastic and pharmaceutical, 1,4-butadienol, methylene diisocyanate, disinfectant, biocide, preservative, because now we see the always we complain that formaldehyde is there, that has been used as a preservative. So, that is the good amount of that is formaldehyde that we are using as a preservative. Reducing agent, corrosion inhibitor, polyacetal resin, paraformaldehyde and pentriethyl, that is the explosive PETN. So, these are the comparison of the silver catalyst and the iron, then the molybdenum. These are the various process licenses. So, both the catalysts that is being used, and so these are the process licenses for the silver catalyst, for iron molybdenum, the Degussa process, Formex process, Fischer-Aldel process. These are the some of the process where we are using the iron molybdenum catalyst. This is the process using the silver catalyst, the air and the raw material that is going to the reactor, and from the reactor absorber is there, off gases that you are taking, and finally the formaldehyde. This is the main reactor that is there. This is the vaporizer we are having, and then because the methanol from here it is going. So, vaporizer, and after the vaporization it is going to the reactor where you are having the silver catalyst. From the silver catalyst it is going to absorber, and from the absorber and we are getting here formaldehyde, and the methanol is separated and it is recycled to the system. So, this is the process we are using in manufacture of the formaldehyde. This is the process we are using in case of the molybdenum catalyst. Here also the methanol that is going to the main reactor, and after the reaction the methanol the formaldehyde that is going for the separation, and we are getting finally the formaldehyde there, and these are the compressor that is shown where the air is compressed and then it is going to the system. So, this is the process when you are using the formaldehyde from the iron molybdenum catalyst. Another important outlet and the use of the synthesis gas is the acetic acid, which is one of the most widely used organic acid and find application in the manufacture of wide range of chemicals. Acetic acid is the largest methanol based chemical in terms of the volume, because both the process that we are using acetic acid from the methanol route, or it may be from the ethanol route also we are making acetic acid. So, these are the consumption and the consumption growth, global consumption growth of the acetic acid. These are the some of the major companies which are making the acetic acid, that is in Indian Organic Chem Limited, Somaiya Chemicals, and this all companies which are seeing here, these are all based on the alcohol based companies are there, except the Gujarat Narmada Valley Fertilizer. All others are making from the ethanol route, which is from the molasses. These are the other companies: Kanoria Chemicals, Lakshmi Organic, Trichy Desai, VAM Organic, Ashok Alcocom, Dhampur. These are all based on the ethanol route, not from the methanol route. This is the market share of the acetic acid manufacture. So, Jubilant is one of the major producer of the acetic acid. Again, as I told you, this is from the not the methanol route, it is from the ethanol route they are making. These are the some of the major uses of the acetic acid: monochloroacetic acid, ethyl acetate, N-butyl acetate, isopropyl acetate, vinegar, vinyl acetate, and so the vinyl acetate, polyvinyl acetate, because that was the name earlier to the Jubilant organization, that was the VAM organic. So, vinyl acetate monomer they were making, and so that was going to the polyvinyl acetate, and you see the polyvinyl acetate that has a very wide application. Polyvinyl chloride, paints, adhesive and coating. So, these are the some of the major outlet for the vinyl acetate, and why the importance of the vinyl acetate is there. Cellulose acetate, that will be discussing while discussing the synthetic fiber in the manufacture of some of the rayons. We are using the acetic acid acetamide that we are making from the peracetic acid and the tetrachloride and DMT. So, there we are using this acetic acid. Another one of the major outlet we are for the methane, as I told you, that the chloromethanes, methyl chloride, methylene dichloride, chloroform, carbon tetrachloride, and Gujarat Heavy Chemicals, which is also making the soda ash, they are having one unit where they are making the chloromethane. Similarly, the cyanide and chemicals, they are using the methane, they are making the cyanide chemicals. So, number of the cyanide chemicals they are making. This is the chloromethanes product profile, methyl chloride, methylene dichloride that we are getting, and the various uses of these products are there, refrigerants and the rubber, butyl rubber, silicone, solvent, trimethyl, lead, intermediate solvents, intermediate about the methyl dichloride, chloroform, carbon tetrachloride. So, these are the various application of the chloroform to various very important chemicals that we are making. Similarly, carbon tetrachloride also. There are two routes for making of the chloromethane. One is the direct chlorination of methane and through the methanolysis. Both the process that can be used, but as the methane is cheaper, so normally and some of the plant they are making the direct chlorination of the methane. This is the process technology, and if you see the chlorination of methane during the process, all the three which major compound which I was telling, the methyl chloride, methylene chloride, chloroform and carbon tetrachloride, they are formed during the process. One of the very important product in case of the synthesis gas outlet means this, where we are using the synthesis gas, that is the dimethyl formamide, and some of the fertilizer plant like your this RCF and the GCFC, they have started making dimethyl formamide, which is one of the widely used solvents in the manufacture of acrylic fiber, because with the coming of the dimethyl formamide in case of the acrylic fiber, where we are using the wet spinning, it has been possible to go for the dry spinning of the acrylic fiber. So, this was only with the availability of the dimethyl formamide, and at the same time dimethyl formamide also we are using as a solvent in the, while discussing this C4 chemicals, we discuss the dimethyl formamide also that being used extraction of this some of the petrochemical. So, because of its high dielectric constant, aperitic nature, wide liquid range and low volatility, it is frequently used for chemical reaction. Other applications require high dissolving power. Because of that, we are, as I told you, we are using for the spinning process. This is the two-step process. The process involves carbonization of the methanol to methyl formamide using basic catalyst and reaction of methyl formamide with the dimethylamine. So, this is the two-step process which we are using for making of the dimethyl formamide. Another, while discussing synthetic gas, we should not forget acetylene, because acetylene is not only made by this calcium carbide route, but also the acetylene can be made from the methane route. And so, this is the acetylene, importance of the acetylene in the chemical industry, because the earlier many of the large number of the chemicals which we are making through the petrochemical route was made from the acetylene. That is why the importance of the acetylene in the chemical industry is still there, and one of the unit by Serum and Chemical Fertilizer, they are using the acetylene process for making of the vinyl chloride and the PVC. The acetylene's highly reactive triple bond provided a ready handle for chemists to grab on for designing the process chemistry. So, many of the chemicals which we are making through the ethylene route, was earlier the acetylene route that was being followed. One of the problem in case of the safety issues involved with the handling of the large volume of the acetylene, and it explains our big problem with the adoption of the acetylene based processes. The process of acetylene requires much energy and is very expensive. Of the attractive petrochemical acetylene is still being used for the manufacture of the chemical. This is the two process we are having in case of the calcium carbonate wet process and the dry process, that we are making the acetylene. Another route is the cracking of the hydrocarbons, means the methane, ethane, propane, because during the process of the cracking in the natural gas also we are getting the acetylene, and one of the petrochemical they are recovering the acetylene also. So, this is the reaction that is taking place during the cracking. These are the some of the products which we are getting from the acetylene, and this was the reason why the importance of the acetylene is there, was there in the during the initial stage of the development of the chemical industry, when there was no petrochemical. So, acetaldehyde is the reaction that is made acrylonitrile, again acrylic fiber, that was through the acrylonitrile route made from the acetylene. Chlorinated solvents, vinyl acetate, vinyl chloride and vinegar chloride. Vinyl chloride, as I told you, that is being used for the manufacture of the your polyvinyl chloride. So, that was the route available. So, this is the we are saying that the this is a long list of the already I have discussed the various uses of the acetylene. So, this is about the synthesis gas and this importance in the chemical industry for the making of the large number of the petrochemical, and the reason why the now the many of the fertilizer. So, apart from manufacturing the fertilizer, they have gone for the manufacture of the some of the very value added product, and one of the major product which was there, that was the manufacture of the caprolactam by the Gujarat State Fertilizer Chemicals and the Fertilizer and Chemicals 7 core, where they are using the ammonia, and at the same time ammonium sulphate is also byproduct, although now we are talking about the ammonia free caprolactam process. Second development in case of synthesis gas, that was the use of the huge amount of the methanol and in the market, and so that was the use of the methanol, that also led to the because the fertilizer, why the fertilizer company they have gone for methanol and methanol to formaldehyde. So, this is all about the synthesis gas and its derivatives. In the next lecture, we will be discussing about the ethylene and its derivatives. Already we have discussed the naphtha cracker. In detail, we will be discussing what are the other sources of the ethylene, and then what are the various products from the ethylene, and because the ethylene, that is called the king of the chemicals, and so the large number of the petrochemicals we are manufacturing from the ethylene.